Oh boy, it's Monday. Well, everyone else is talking about Russia and Ukraine, so I guess I'm going to weigh into. I actually had some good thoughts about it. Well, I wouldn't say good thoughts, but I had some thoughts about it. I watched one of my prepping guys. I really like him, City Prepping. Check out his channel if you haven't. He's very, very calculated in the way that he researches things and presents things. So definitely check that one out. And he outlined how Ukraine and Russia and China and India, and what was it? Sweden? Yeah, I think it was Finland, and the borders with Russia, and how all of this is kind of tying together geopolitically and economically. Basically, China hasn't made a statement yet about the war. Well, China's been hoarding grain for the last couple of months, several months. China's been stocking up on grain. Ukraine is one of the largest producers of a certain kind of oil, certain kind of not corn oil, but it was a certain kind of oil that they export, is used to make a lot of things. And basically, India as well is a big storer of grain or something like that, and it all kind of plays into each other. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is how the narrative plays out. And for this narrative that I'm gonna present, it is based on the assumption that the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and everything like that is kind of how it's going to go. So you have to have that mindset that this is all about, you will own nothing and you will be happy. The 2030 mindset that they're trying to push on everybody. So what do we know now? China has a social credit system. This we know. China is trying to create a state-backed cryptocurrency. What just happened that we found out recently? The MOEX is down. Russia's stock exchange is down. The ruble is falling. The ruble is no longer a currency. So what happens? Well, Russia needs to create a new currency, and this is the perfect excuse. So Russia creates its own cryptocurrency, and now all of a sudden, one more step has been taken to state-controlled currency. No more freedom of transactions. No more underground economy. No more barter economy. Everything will be tracked now. And once you have the two big superpowers, Russia and China, trading with their own currencies, it's going to be seen as a big step forward. It will be heralded as progress. It'll probably kind of mark the end of. It'll probably come about near the end of the crisis. Now we're going to see a lot of cyber attacks and things like that. This is going to be a very interesting time for a lot of us. It hopefully won't affect us too much here in the States. I said previously in a lot of my videos that while other videos people were complaining about supply chain shortages and prices going up in their market, we hadn't really been affected. I'd say in the last month or so, I've started to definitely see an increase in price for things, especially for meat. Baby food. Baby food's gone up about $10 for one giant big serving thing that we normally get. Grocery shopping went from being $130 for the family to $210 or so. So yeah, prices have gone up. Now I'm starting to feel it a little bit. Gas has definitely been a thing. Still kills me. I still think about how people blame that crap on Biden. It's like, it's really not the president who had anything to do with this. I mean, just look at the political landscape and the supply chain and worker shortages all over the world. Coronavirus caused this to go up. Not Biden. Coronavirus caused this to go up because there's a labor shortage. If there's a labor shortage, we can't produce gasoline. I mean, it's really that simple. But people love to place blame because they're not willing to use their brain and figure out like what the actual cause is. Yeah, and I have my thoughts about coronavirus, but from that argument perspective, it is what it is. Speaking of the Wuhan virus, good old CNN, constant negative news, just sent me a push notification today about new studies show that the coronavirus emerged from a wet market, not a lab. And so that was really interesting because just the day before, on the conspiracy back channels, it was talking about how Moderna created the patent or created the coronavirus 3 years ago. So funny how all of this is conveniently happening right as all of this is getting discovered. The news is no longer talking about the coronavirus, but the war. So things can be faked, and if the mainstream media is going to be pushing that one, especially CNN, then I know that that's what they got paid to push, because that's what they want the narrative to be. It's just so funny to me because there was that 53-page addendum basically saying that, yeah, like new evidence, and this was like a year or so ago, like new evidence basically says like this was created in a lab. And then Fauci admitted to gain of function research. And so why are they gaslighting us yet again? Anyway, back to my thoughts on Russia and Ukraine. So Russia creates its new cryptocurrency following suit with China. They're trading with their new cryptocurrencies. Well, India and Russia being two major trading partners, India has to keep up because it's got a massive population and it's going to have all of this grain stored up that it's going to need to offload. And China and Russia aren't going to accept it unless they can pay for it with their new cryptocurrency in exchange. And so now India is going to have to adopt a new crypto for themselves, a new Indian crypto. So nothing will be private. It will all be on computers. And all of these cyber attacks, they're going to be sold as cyber attacks when in fact they're just beta tests for the security of the system, because they don't want all of this new crypto, government mandated, government state run crypto to be able to be hacked. They don't want it to have anything happen. So, Anonymous, the group, was compromised a long time ago. They are not what they were originally. Everyone has a price. They've been bought or turned. And yeah, so India will follow. These are beta tests. These will be beta test cyber attacks. Litmus testing the system, making it pretty much I don't know, error proof, hack proof, fail proof in a lot of ways. You see this a lot with everything. You for those of us who have the ability to see through the gaslighting and have been paying attention to the cycles and have been paying attention to what's happening lately, they always litmus test in places that are easy for them to control. New Zealand, Australia, Canada. Australia, New Zealand, they don't have a lot of guns. At least that's what we've been told. Maybe that's not true. Maybe it is true. But it's easy for the government to come in and boss people around in Australia and Canada. And thank God for the peaceful protests. And then what Canada tries to do with cryptocurrency, it's, they're trying, that's the litmus test, because they know. This is why one of the many reasons they backed off with it is because they were pushing really, really, really hard in those two countries. And news was getting out across the world, and they were getting the feedback, and they knew that it would not fly in the United States. They wouldn't be able to make it happen. So anyway, they backed off because things were at a breaking point, and just, that's what they do. They take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. They encroach a little bit, and then they back off, and then the next time they encroach on your rights and your freedoms a little bit more, and then they back off. And then they encroach a little bit further, and then they back off. Until next thing you know, they've moved the goalpost or the fence post, and your neighbor has encroached on your property so much, and he's taken so much of it that there's nothing really you can do to take it back. So just fucking, that's what happens. And that's what's going on. And so they're backing off, and they're distracting us with this big old war. Just wait. This is a new thought, and I'll get to some other thoughts that I had. This one just popped into my head, though. Guys, how I've been talking about in my past videos, how they might engineer a smallpox outbreak since we no longer vaccinate for it. Well, this war is a perfect excuse for some kind of germ warfare. Perfect excuse. You guys think you're scared of the nukes? Seriously? Yeah, that's the distraction talk. They talk about the nukes to distract. That's not the real threat. The real threat is if one of these fucking nutheads, and America is included in that. I'm talking about the nuthead Bill Gates, the nuthead, people behind the veil who run this fucking show, or think they do, and have the money to, decides that it would be a fucking good thing to reduce the Earth's population and release the smallpox virus again, and then that's how they use it as a means of control, because everyone just lines up, and then boom, you're in line, you get your card, you can't go anywhere, because smallpox is nothing to fuck with, guys. Smallpox is nothing to fuck around with. COVID, again, litmus test. Everything you have to look at, litmus test. It's the experiment. And then you got to see the next one. You got to anticipate it. You got to try to anticipate it. And things are just so out of control now that there will never be no new normal. Like there is no new normal. There's only the newer normal that we can try to create for ourselves peacefully. And we will. Anyway, what's going to happen next, based on the hypothesis and the thesis that I just laid out, if you believe that Klaus Schwab is going to get his way and the World Economic Forum is laying it out and laying out the plan, if that's what you think is happening, or if that's what you believe is happening, or you've seen to be true, then here's the extrapolation based on that foundational theory. Vietnam, what happened? We tried to go in because of communism, and we didn't want communism to spread. Our intentions were mostly good from the perspective of global economics and human rights. It turned into a massive shit show. We all know why, because of everything that was happening at home. And, that's okay. That's okay. We live, we learn. But then we have the Battle of Mogadishu. That's the story of Black Hawk Down. Because we tried to intervene. And it just doesn't seem to be in our favor much anymore to intervene. Now, if you go with the postulation and the theory about, the World Economic Forum and everything that's about to happen, then you'll know that they say that the U.S. will not be a superpower. So if the U.S. isn't going to be a superpower, then what would have to happen is that the U.S. is going to have to intervene in this Ukraine-Russia crisis, and it's going to have its ass severely beaten, severely whooped. We are going to come out of this and we are going to look really bad. And it's not going to be fun, and it's not going to be pretty. And part of the reason for that argument as to why that could be what happens is basically looking how the policies of the military have unfolded in the last couple of years, but really the last several years. And I don't really need to dive into that much. It's not much my place to argue about. Like, I don't know what the difference between gender and sex is. I don't know what all of that is. If your sexuality is one thing and your gender is different, I just feel like there's biologically male or female in at least with mammals. There might be more that I don't know of. I mean, I know that there's things like snails and seahorses, and I think frogs do the same thing, because of Jurassic Park would be like my only information source on that. But those are amphibians and fish. I don't know what fish are. I don't know what fish are off the top of my head, but basically, if you're a dude and you have to identify as a female to compete in sports in order to win, to feel good about yourself, well, I think there's something really messed up with you. Now, if you're a female and you want to identify as a male, then that's fine. And it's fine the other way too. If you're a boy and you want to be a girl, like, I definitely think that people feel a certain way, or different things make them feel good, and nature versus nurture. And I'm no psychologist, but do what makes you happy and content. But if you're going to be a male in the U.S. Army and you want to identify as female, and you're going to be prancing around and it's one thing for the military to be the military and to be strict and to be what it is. I think it's great that they allow females into the military. We need that. We need badass bitches ready to fight. There are many women that I would put up against many men, and I would bet on the woman all day, every day. All right? These motherfuckers are strong. All right. So, like, I think that's, like, if you've got that mentality, like, absolutely. But, like, the military should not be encouraged to go the other direction. The military should not be encouraged to be soft, and this whole deal where, wow, sorry, this guy was passing everybody and going like incredibly fast on this highway, 2-lane highway. So he's basically in my lane, and he has it so his lights flash, and he's not a cop, so that's not cool. Anyway, sidetracked. So the military getting pussified, and then now we're going to throw them at Ukraine, Russia. Probably be on the side of Ukraine, most likely. That seems to be the narrative that everyone's pushing. I don't really know. But it seems that everyone is on Ukraine's side because, Russia's invading, and, like, get off my lawn. And that's not cool for Russia to do. So, like, I get it. I get why they would be on Ukraine's side. People drive so odd. So, Our military has been dismantled from the inside out, starting back in the Obama administration, really. That is just a theory. I don't have anything to back that up right now. I've seen people talk about it and how that, like, certain things have been let happen in the military and certain policies have been changed, and it all started then. Again, I don't know the exact details of it. All I know is it's softened up. Our military is very soft now, and if the U.S. is no longer going to be number one in the world superpower, then what has to happen is this war has to be what sets an example to the American people that we ain't shit anymore. And I've come to accept, ever since I lived abroad in 2012, America really isn't that great. We definitely get sold a package of goods growing up. We have some very good propaganda about being number one, because our history books of what we're taught in school is actually very different from what actually has happened. And you know, we're not quite viewed the way that we think we are. And you know, there's a problem with the citizenry thinking that we're the number one superpower when we're not. Creates this cognitive dissonance. And so I think that this war is going to be used for most of these people who aren't willing to admit and accept that, like, we have fallen from grace. You know, we aren't the most free country. We don't have the best standard of living. And people don't want to admit that. And bite my tongue, I don't know, but we've gotten lazy because of it. If we're at the top, why do we need to keep going? So, build back better, tear it down and rebuild. So they say. You know, you say that and it gets a little political, and that's not what I mean, but I really don't understand what's so wrong with tearing something down that is broke and fixing it if it's going to create jobs. I mean, if there's infrastructure that needs to be replaced, like bridges and highways and roads, what is wrong with tearing them down and rebuilding them? I don't want to be driving across a bridge and have it collapse. I don't know. You know, our engineers are hopefully better now. I don't know. Whatever. You know, the schools, like, we can build better schools, better hospitals, better VA hospitals, whatever it is, we can build better stuff. There's really nothing wrong. Out with the old, in with the new. We don't need to hoard. You know, it'd be nice to have nice, new, pretty, shiny things. But the trick trap that's going to happen with that is they're going to build all this new stuff, and in order to enjoy it, you're going to have like, what? You're like, based on what I was talking about, maybe like your smallpox vaccination, or you're going to have the new cryptocurrency, the new U.S. cryptocurrency. And then you'll basically own nothing and be happy, because you'll have no choice. You'll be so doped up on whatever antidepressants, whatever zombie drugs, you know, the Soma, right? If you've ever read that book, Brave New World, and you're just happy. You just take your Soma, and you don't really own anything, but that's okay. There's really no need to. For me, that just goes against what every human wants and strives for. I mean, there's pride in owning and building and having something and providing that, that feels good. So this corporatocracy that is being tried, that they're trying to push upon us, I don't understand it. That's why the World Economic Forum is dangerous. Progress is great, but progress at the expense of happiness or autonomy is not. And that's what we got to be careful of. And that's what we got to watch out for. So, anyway, I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. Tell me what you think about that. Tell me if it makes sense. Tell me if it doesn't make sense. Tell me if it's completely crazy. Maybe, like I say with a lot of my other videos, we'll look back in 5 years and have a laugh at how naive or how silly it was, or maybe they'll get deleted because they were so prophetic. Either way, we'll see you guys next time. It's good to be back. Felt really good about this one. I hope you did too. And until next time, friends.